Have you ever felt anxious after a heavy rain, staring at your succulents and wondering if they will survive? If you have, you're not alone. It's one of the most common worries among succulent lovers. One moment, you're admiring your healthy, thriving plants, and the next, you're afraid they might start rotting before you even have the chance to do anything about it. Overwatering, whether from the hose, a watering can, or unexpected rain, is one of the biggest challenges when caring for succulents. And unlike watering from our own hands, we can't exactly tell the rain to slow down. But the truth is, you should not worry when it rains, because succulents love rainwater. In fact, succulents love water. But it is when water is too much for them to handle that the problem begins. So in today's video, let's discuss the simple things you can do ahead of time to prepare your succulents for heavy rains so that you don't need to feel stressed, just celebrate when the skies open up. Also, I will show you how to identify if your succulents are happy after the rain or if they are in trouble and what to do to save them. One of the greatest strengths of succulents is their ability to store water. This special trait is what allows them to survive and even thrive in some of the most challenging environments, like deserts and dry, rocky landscapes where rain is rare. Their thick leaves, roots, and stems act like the built-in water reservoirs, helping them to stay hydrated when water is hard to come by. Interestingly, this same ability can also become a disadvantage when succulents are placed in conditions where water is too abundant. Unlike other plants that constantly absorb and use water, succulents are not built to handle too much moisture. When they get more water than they can store or use, their tissues can swell and get damaged. In short, while their water-storing superpower is what makes succulents tough survivors during drought, it also means they need a lot of caution when it comes to watering. Too much love in the form of water can actually hurt them more than help. That's why understanding their natural needs is key to keeping succulents happy and healthy. This is how our garden looked just 2 days after the heavy rain. And honestly, it was a beautiful sight. Most of the succulents were planted in rustic wooden boxes and on wooden ledges. Now, you might be wondering, do these succulents need saving after getting rained on? Surprisingly, not at all. They looked happy, vibrant, plump, and completely refreshed. I didn't need to panic or do anything except enjoy admiring their beauty. The rain did not damage them because I hadn't watered them for quite a while before the rain came. I knew they were due for a good drink. The rain arrived at just the right time, like nature lending a helping hand. Since succulents are great at storing water in their leaves and roots, one generous shower was more than enough to keep them hydrated for several weeks. So instead of worrying, I simply enjoyed the moment. No extra steps, no interventions, just let nature do its thing. Now, let me show you how you can prepare your succulents to survive during rainy days, especially if you live in an area where it rains often. First of all, don't water your succulents when they don't need to be watered yet. The worst case scenario is having bloated succulents who got more water when it rained. So if your plants don't need water, just keep watering. Succulents are drought-tolerant plants. They can survive for weeks or even months without being watered. In fact, when they detect a lack of water, they go into conservation mode. They do all their best to protect their water supply. Their cuticle thickens, they become compact to prevent further water loss, and they grow even more colorful. If your succulents are thirsty and they receive water from the rain, it's heaven for these plants. Rain will give them enough water to fill their storage without getting damaged. Next, always use containers with drainage holes. This is a must. Without them, water can collect at the bottom of the pot and cause root rot. I remember that when I was still new to succulents, I would use pots without drainage. One day, it rained in the middle of the night and I had to wake up and transfer them to a covered location. It's a good thing my arrangements were just small. Since then, I have made sure all the containers I use have good drainage. Another way is to make sure your soil drains well. Use soil recommended for succulents. And if you get frequent rains, improve your soil mix by adding more inorganic materials like perlite, pumice, coarse sand, or small rocks. These help the water drain quickly and prevent the soil from staying soggy. Another helpful tip is to use shallow pots. The less soil there is, the less water it holds, which means your succulents are less likely to sit in too much moisture. And if the rain gets really heavy or goes on for days, it's a good idea to provide a bit of overhead protection. An umbrella, a shade cloth, or even a small covered area can help shield your plants. So, when do you rescue these plants? What are the signs to look for and what are the steps you need to do to save them? First, look at the plant's leaves. Are they so bloated that they look like they're about to explode? Do you see leaves that are cracked, already starting dropping off, or starting to look mushy? This is not a good sign. That means they got too much water and are already struggling inside. If the soil they sit on is still very wet, you need to take a drastic action because sitting on that wet soil for another day can cause further harm. What you should do is make sure the plant will stop absorbing additional water. If the soil is still wet, unfortunately you need to uproot the plant. You do not need to rush to plant it right away. You can just leave it to air dry and after a week, plant it in the proper soil without watering for another 3 to 4 weeks. Trust me, your plant will thank you for it. Succulent gardening is more than just a hobby. It's a beautiful therapeutic journey that brings both joy and deep sense of satisfaction. At first, it might feel a little intimidating. You might wonder why your plant's leaves are falling off or why the soil never seems quite right. But once you figure out how to truly care for them, especially how much or how little water they need, everything changes. Suddenly, you're no longer just trying to keep them alive. You're watching them thrive. Your succulents begin to reward your care with new growth, vibrant colors, and adorable little offsets. Tiny baby plants that are like nature's way of saying, you're doing great. These offsets can be propagated into brand new plants, so your garden naturally grows over time without spending more money. But beyond the plants themselves, succulent gardening brings something even more meaningful: happiness. There's a calming, almost meditative rhythm to tending to your collection. Gently checking on them, rearranging them, or creating a new arrangement in a favorite pot. It grounds you in the present moment and gives you a quiet sense of purpose. In a world that often feels rushed and noisy, caring for succulents reminds you to slow down and appreciate the small, beautiful things. So yes, Succulent gardening may take a little patience at first, but once you figure it out, it becomes a deeply rewarding experience. One that grows not just your garden, but your sense of joy too. Happy succulent gardening!